I love goal setting. In fact, I have an entire notebook just dedicated to it, but I understand that not everybody is quite as enthusiastic about goals as I am. So today we're going to have a look at some different layouts that you can use in your journal, which are goal related, but a little outside of the typical goals layouts. Hello team, I am Jess or Jessie Corinne on behalf of the Artronol of Ambassador team, and our first layout idea is that of intentions. Now having a look at this page you can see intentions isn't actually written anywhere on it, but that's because, as said, I love goals, I don't mind titling my page with goals, but if it's just the word in particular that's giving you a kind of ick or an iffy feeling, then what you can do is set up your goals page in the same way that you normally would, and then just change the title out for something that's a little bit more up your alley. Intentions is a good word for this because it usually gives feelings of kind of mindfulness rather than hustle, and you could also think of other words that resonate with you a little bit more, maybe dreams or dreams with plans, wishes, wants, effectively anything that you can title the page with that makes you feel a little bit better about the information captured on there. Our next idea is one of my favorites. I like to set it up every single year, and that is a 101 things list. Now when I do my 101 things list, I like to do it for a year in particular. So for instance, 101 things in 2024. For some people that would be too much, but for me, I find it's okay. I also don't put a lot of pressure on myself to complete every single one of the things, but it's nice to have a list of 101 things that were important to me throughout the year, stuff that I decided that I'd want to do at some point, even if I don't actually end up getting them all done. If you are going to set up a list like this for yourself, I do encourage you to pick a combination of bigger and smaller things. I have a lot of smaller things on here, and also just typical things that happen, like celebrating my birthday, having a favorite things day, celebrating Christmas, that kind of thing. So it's a mix of the typical stuff that I like to do and the other stuff that's a little bit new, a little bit exciting, but it doesn't have to be huge. Notably, this is my list for 2024, but I also have a similar list for 2023. You can see how many of them actually got done. Anything with a little black box is one that got completed. I also like to write down the date that the completion happened, kinda so I can see the spread of activities across the year. So we have 1 through 50 here, and then on the other side of the Dutch door we have 51 to 101. You can see a good chunk of stuff did get done, but there was also a decent amount that didn't. Like I said, I don't put a lot of pressure on myself to 100% my list. I'm okay with the fact that some of these things did not happen. Some of these things may not happen because I've since decided I don't really want to do them. But I like having it captured here as kind of a way of saying this was the stuff that was important or interesting to me in 2023. Something similar but a little bit different is rather than doing 101 things in 1 year, you could do 101 things in 1001 days. This is another common way that people tackle this kind of a project. Gives you a little bit longer to do all of those things. If it's the number of things in particular that you're finding a little bit daunting, then you could make that number a lot smaller. So for instance, this could be 24 things in 2024, 25 before 2025. This one in particular was notably 20 things to do in 2020. You don't have to pick a number that's specifically tied to the year either. I just kind of like the symmetry of it. I don't think that's the right word, but hopefully you get what I mean. It can be a fun little challenge to tie it to the year specifically, and oftentimes 20 to 25 things is going to be a bit more manageable than 101. Typically when I'm thinking about the number that I want to pick in particular, it really comes down to the layout that I want to set up. 24 is an excellent number because it's divisible by so many other numbers, so you can set that one up on a grid style layout, but more on that later. Another fun one is a certain number of things before a certain age. So for instance, this one being 60 things to do before you turn 60. Now, of course, this depends on like how old you are, how close that milestone birthday is going to be, all of that kind of thing. But this could be a fun way to kind of look ahead and think, in my life, you know, before I am no longer here, what is it that I want to get done? What are those experiences that I want to have? Especially if you're thinking quite far out in terms of a number of years. But you could also think a little bit closer to home, maybe 30 before 30, 35 before 35. Again, depends on your age and how much time there is until that milestone birthday. For this layout though, I've just listed out all of the things and then could color in each of the little circles as they get done. These aren't actually my things that I want to do before I'm 60, it is just an idea. On a similar train of thought, you might want to set yourself up something like a bucket list or a list of things that you want to do before you kick the bucket. So again, thinking quite far into the future hopefully, considering those things you want to do before you no longer can. You can set this one up as a kind of simple list, kind of similar to what we have here, or you can add some decoration, again, similar to what we have here. My favorite take on the bucket list though is the apocalypse, or things to do before the apocalypse. The idea of this one comes from the TV show No Tomorrow, but effectively, just like a bucket list, it's all of those things that you want to do before you can't, maybe because the apocalypse happened. As you can see, I've kept this one fairly simple in terms of structure, so just a little box to check off when the thing happens, and then just writing out all of the things that I want to get done. Certainly have a couple more things that I want to add to this list, which is good because I have plenty of space for it. But if thinking that far ahead is a little bit daunting, or maybe you just can't really do it, what you could do instead is have a cup list. So the idea of a cup list comes from the fact that a cup is smaller than a bucket. So in terms of time frame, we're thinking a lot shorter. In terms of life areas, maybe we're thinking smaller there too. For a cup list, what you could do is set one up seasonally. So maybe all of the things that I want to do in summer or fall or whatever. Or it could just be little lists related to, as said, life areas. So little cup list for things to do around the house, little cup list for things that you want to achieve at work. Again, thinking on a smaller time frame compared to something like a bucket list, which is like end of life, what do I want to do? Keeps it a little bit more manageable and sometimes a little bit easier to think about because it's in the more immediate future. As promised, we're coming back to this layout because this idea is more like a goal bingo. So you may have seen self-care bingo boards where there's like a little thing related to taking care of yourself in each of the boxes, and as they happen you color them in. This one works in exactly the same way, but each of these things are little goals that you have. Again, if you're going to have quite a few of them, then it's probably good to have a mix of bigger and smaller items. But like said, as you complete them, you can color them in, and you might also want to set yourself up some rewards, possibly for the first horizontal, diagonal, vertical, and then the full board. Notably, I've set mine up so that it has 4 across and 6 down, mainly because I wanted to make very good use of the space. But you could set this up more as kind of like a traditional bingo board, similar to what we have on this one, where we have the same number across as we do down. Typically with my bingo boards, I like to do a little bit of doodling, so some little pictures related to each of the individual items. Just makes it look a little bit more visually interesting. But similar to my book bingo, you can just type them up and then print them off. If drawing in the bingo board yourself wasn't something you really wanted to do, I do have some blank bingo board printables, which are on the blog post related to this video. That one's linked in the description box, so make sure that you jump over there. These are just some ideas for how you can kind of gamify your goals or make them a little bit more fun rather than just a typical goals layout. And if you have any other ideas for goals layouts, we would love to hear them in the comments. Hopefully this was helpful. Thank you for watching, and until next time. Bye!